What's going on, guys? It's Grinch KD. So I thought it was about time that I make another video on my secret strat, my very simple strategy for keeping track of your mercy, as well as I'm going to talk to you guys about how I use my shards. Maybe this will give you guys some insight on how you want to use your shards. If you're earlier in the game, I know if you're like really early or even like maybe mid game, you probably spend most of your shards on fusions, which is alright. You got to do what you got to do. But as you get later in the game and you start acquiring more resources, I want to show you guys how I spend my stuff. In my opinion, it's the most optimal way to spend your resources, considering that I pretty much never buy shards. Not that I haven't done it in the past, but pretty much all the shard openings and all the fusions that you guys have seen, probably like the last 6 months, have been all just stuff that's saved up. I don't recall buying any shards within that time period. So without further ado, let me show you guys how I track my mercy. It's very, very simple. I do know that RSL helper is a thing, but you've got people like this. No disrespect to this guy, but let me throw him on the screen real quick. No disrespect to this guy, but it says he's pulled 250 ancients since his last legendary. So obviously, he must not have the app open when he pulled a legendary. Maybe he looked at it and seen that he was at like 180 shards for an extra Lego event, so then he just opened and pulled 40 and got his legendary and forgot to open the app or something. But yeah, 250 ancients without legendary is just impossible. Every time I see these, I'm just kind of like, man, if you're going to use this to track your mercy, you got to open it every single time or you're going to get stuff like this. Like I said, no disrespect to this guy, just someone who wasn't managing their mercy correctly and using RSL helper properly. I don't use RSL helper. I don't even know how to download it. There's videos on the internet for that. But yeah, if you're going to use it, you got to keep it open like 24/7 because you're going to get stuff like that. And nobody pulls 250 shards and doesn't get a legendary. It just doesn't happen. Right? That's the mercies are built in there to protect that. But without using RSL helper, this is how I track my mercy. Alright, let me show you guys. Boom. On a notes pad. Now, I use the notes on my phone, but I put exactly what was on my phone into my computer. This is literally how I track my mercy. So you can even get more detailed with it, but this just means ancient shards sent to legendary 53. So I know that if I want to go into mercy, I need between 150 and 170. Voids, I'm at 12, so I'm nowhere near mercy. So 12 shards sent to legendary. Sacreds, I'm at 5. I've pulled 5 sacreds since my last legendary. And then primals, I track twice because there's legendaries and mythicals. And to me, knowing both mercies is good because if I get to like 70 without a legendary, I think primal mercy starts at 75 for legendaries, so maybe it's worth going for a 15x. Normally you don't want to use your primals for that, but if it's a good champion, it could be worth it. Like right now with the Teox and stuff. So we're at 5 since our last legendary, and we're at 36 since our last mythical. And then I do track remnants, so I pulled 9 remnants and have not gotten a mythical. I think mercy starts at 12 or 24, so we might be getting closer or not even close at all. This is how I track my mercy, though, and I think this is the best way. As long as you remember to update it, you cannot forget to update it. It's kind of like RSL helper, right? You got to keep RSL helper. You got to remember to open it every time you open shards, and on this, you got to remember to keep track of how many shards you opened, either with the little recording on your computer. There's tons of recording software. You just go back and rewatch, or once you pull a legendary, you just keep track of how many 10 pulls after that you do. So, like, let's say you're doing a fusion and you're pulling sacreds on the summon rush. Maybe you pull your legendary in the first sacred, you still got to pull 5 more, so you know that if you pull the rest without getting another legendary, you're 5 into mercy. Or with your ancients, maybe you're doing a champion chase, you pull the legendary, but you still need some more points for the fusion, you do 2 more 10 pulls, and now you know you're 20 since your last legendary. But I highly recommend just taking the time and trying to track your mercy properly, because I'll tell you guys, this has completely evolved my account. And it allows me to get such a competitive edge against anybody else that's been playing as long as I have. I've even been able to surpass people that have been playing much longer. And it's because of me tracking my mercy. I know when I should pull my shards and when I shouldn't. I know when I can risk it and guarantee a result. And that's one of the most important things in this game. You go for an extra legendary event and you burn 170 ancients and don't get it. That's a little setback right there. But if you track your mercy like I always do, anytime I get above like using like 100, 120 ancients, I go for those extra Lego events if I have enough shards. Because I know, hey, within 100, 120 shards, I'm getting that double legendary. To me, 120 shards is worth 2 legendaries. Or even if I can get to 180 shards, then heck yeah, I'm going for a legendary. But without that information, there's probably could have been times where I pulled and get nothing. And that's very, very bad for your account, especially when you're trying to maximize the amount of champions you get to fill your faction guardians and just to get powerful champions in general and get more stats. Even with the sacreds, if you go for a sacred extra legendary event and you can't almost guarantee it, it's hard to guarantee with sacred extra legendary events because you need to pull like 40 sacreds to get like a guaranteed legendary. But usually what I'll do is if I'm at like 10 in the Mercy and I've got like 20 sacreds, to me the chances are on my side. Even though it only goes up 2% per shard, I know I'm about to get into Mercy, my luck's about to start ramping up. It's not 100% guarantee there, but at least I'm well informed. Like, okay, in 2 shards the Mercy starts, and then I've got another 18 shards to hopefully get lucky, which, doing the math, I should get lucky at that point. Still not a guarantee, but at least it gives me a more educated guess, especially with the sacred extra legendary events. I mean, I've seen people blow 17, 15, 20, 25 shards and not get the extra legendary. If you keep track of your Mercy, you can do your best to prevent that stuff from happening. In fact, I like right now in my position, I wouldn't even touch an extra legendary event from sacreds. I got to get this number to like 9, 10, or 11 and then have a bunch stocked up here to even think it's worth attempting it. Because I just don't want to be one of those guys that gets suckered out of 20 shards or something like that if I can help it. And 20 sacreds is a lot. That's like almost 3 summon rushes during fusions that you're setting yourself back. That's a huge setback to burn 20 sacreds on 20 epics. Luckily with epic empowerment, you could probably make some of your guys a little bit stronger, but that's a huge setback. So I highly recommend that everybody that watches this video track your Mercy. And you don't even have to do it the way that I'm recommending. Just find a way that works for you. Track your Mercy, please. You will see so much improvement in your account because you know when to pull and you know when not to pull. If you guys had seen our most recent Void Shard opening, I was able to go for a progressive event on Voids, which is the first time I've purposely ever done that. Maybe I pulled progressive during a fusion or something like that. But I was able to guarantee myself a legendary during a progressive event. And that's all because I tracked my Mercy. So it really just enables your account to do things safely that you wouldn't otherwise know if you were qualified for or not qualified for before. So I think I'll just wrap up this little segment and say, please track your Mercy some way. If you're going to use RSL Helper, please have it open anytime you open shards. Do not forget. And if you forget to have it open when you open shards, if you're opening like Ancients or Sacreds, that section of RSL Helper, just completely ignore it. No, oops, I opened Sacreds off of this counter right here. Unless you remember how many sacreds you pulled with 100% confidence without getting a legendary or after getting a legendary, just completely ignore that portion of RSL Helper because you messed up, which is okay. We all make mistakes. We're all human. But like I said, unless you're going to open RSL Helper all the time or remember to ignore portions that you messed up on, tracking on your notes is also a fantastic way. In my opinion, this has been, completely game-changing for me. One day I just said, you know what, I'm going to start doing this because I'm tired of going for these events and not getting a legendary when I thought I was close to Mercy, when I was nowhere near. So now I'm a more informed shard opener, which is what Plarium doesn't want. Plarium doesn't want you to know where your Mercy's at. There's a reason they don't show you. They want you to think that you can hit the legendary, pull 100 shards, and not get it. Because then you buy some more shards, so it's beneficial for them. But don't get baited like that. Make the system work for you. You don't work for the system. Alright guys, now let's get into how I spend my shards. If you jump to this section of the video, I want to say I highly recommend tracking your Mercy. I definitely would go back and rewatch the other portion. But if you're just here to see how I spend my shards, then let's get into it. First of all, Voids and Primals, probably Primals, the most important shards on my account. Where I'm at in the game, I get enough Ancients, Mysteries, and Sacreds to do fusions without touching my Primals and Voids. So Primals and Voids are completely off limits for fusions unless they're a last resort, unless these numbers dip low. But that has not happened in a very, very, very long time. Even if it's a Void 2x, I don't touch them. I do not touch them. That is just my opinion. Pulling Void Shards during a 2x in a fusion is not a bad idea for 90% of players. But for me, my Void Shards get used exclusively for guaranteed champions. And then there's been times where they don't drop a guaranteed champion for a long time, and I'll have like 160, 180 Void Shards. At that point, I will use them for 2x. Like I did use my Void Shards during a 2x for the Ninja 6-star Soul Champion Chase Tournament. But really, it's 2x's and it's guaranteed champions. But I primarily go for guaranteed champions. Once I get enough for a guaranteed, then I dabble in a 2x. I made the mistake of last time completely dumping all my voids because I felt like they stopped doing guaranteed void champions, but they've really just drastically reduced the rate that they're doing them. So my strategy from now on is going to be just keep myself at that 110 void shards. If I have 160, I can open 50. That's what I'll be doing from now on. If I'm close to mercy on void shards, I'll target a progressive chance event like you guys saw in a few videos ago, or maybe the previous video. We'll target a progressive chance event, but I need to be very close to mercy for that to be worth it. I need to guarantee that I'm going to get a legendary, so I have the best possible chance of actually getting the progressive champion that I want. So I will only pull for progressive if it's a champion that's really good, and if I can guarantee I'm getting a legendary by tracking my mercy. Primal shards, these literally have only ever been touched during 2x mythical, 2x legendary, and 2x epic. It has to be, I guess for me it doesn't have to be all three. If it was a 2x mythical and a 2x legendary, I'd probably still pull. But I don't think they've ever done just 2x mythical and 2x legendary. I know they've done just 2x mythical, and I figure these things are so rare, I'll just wait till the next epic legendary mythical event. But that's when I pull. I pull during the 2x epic, 2x legendary, 2x mythical. I do not ever pull during just the 2x epic and 2x legendary. That is a scam. Do not do that. And I don't ever pull during the 2x mythical. Now, there's a lot of people that do. I don't agree with that because these things are so hard to come by. If you're a spender, you probably don't care. But these things are so hard to come by. Just wait till the next event. Me, with the rate that they're doing these events, I probably only open Primal Shards 3 or 4 times a year. Is what it's going to end up being. I think I've only opened Primal Shards. Well, I think Primal Shards came out this year. Yeah, I can't quite remember. But yeah, I guess that's what you guys need to take away from this. I only open during 2x epic, 2x legendary, 2x mythical. I did say, however, that I may target a progressive champion for legendaries, like Teox here. I would target that if I was close to my legendary mercy on primals. Very close. Now, that's just me. I wouldn't recommend that for all you guys. But if the legendary mercy for primals kicks in at... Primals for legendaries kicks in after 75 summons, but it's only a 1% chance, so... Actually, guys, scratch that. It's only a 1% chance after 75 summons. I thought it went up by 5% like the rest of the shards, so I was wrong. So actually, I would not even target a progressive champion. It's not worth risking another 100 shards for a chance at a Lego. Now, you're probably not going to go to 175, but you could. So, I wouldn't even target these progressives. I'm just going to open these, and I have just opened these for the 2x epic, 2x legendary, 2x mythical. Ancients and sacreds are my fuel for my fusions. I use these to complete most of my fusions. Sacreds pretty much always during the 7 rush. Sometimes I'll use ancients if there's a really fantastic event, but usually not. Or if there is a if they're doing the double points for ancient shards during the fusion, then that can be worth it during the summon rushes. During champion, so I guess I'll give you guys my general rule. Ancient shards I use during champion chase, sacred shards during summon rush, and then mystery shards if needed. I'll open them throughout the days doing the champion training events and get a couple extra 100 points or something. But really, general rule: sacred shards I use for summon rush, ancient shards I use for champion chase. But ancient shards I don't use as much of during the champion chase typically, because I'll pop my remnants during a champion chase. I'll pop my prism shard if that's going on during a champion chase. I'll pull some of my fragments during a champion chase. I've got Broadmas out the butt cheeks. We got 6 of them ready to go, so I'll pull those during a champion chase as well. So I don't use like 100 ancient shards per champion chase. I don't usually have to do that. Usually I'll pull a couple of these things on the side and then pop 30, 40, maybe 50 ancients. Sacred shards, pretty much I exclusively use them in summon rush for the fusion portion of things. What is it, like 6 or 7 sacreds to get the champion, or 5, 6, 7 to get the champion usually for a fusion. But then outside of fusions, if I've got a surplus like this, I may open sacreds during a 2x. It's very rare that I open sacreds during a 2x. Actually saving these ones for a 2x, 10x for the Knights Revenant Faction Unity when it comes out. I'm hoping that those end up lining up. Usually when the Faction Unity comes out, it's either with Ancient Shards or with Sacred Shards, and it's usually a 2x, 10x. I'm hoping that lands on Sacred so I can dump all my Sacreds into it and get lucky. I also use these for guaranteed champions whenever Sacreds can be used for them, like Grand Oak Padraig and stuff like that. And then I also, if I'm close to Mercy, will use Sacreds for extra legendary events, if I'm close to Mercy. But obviously, that's a lot of events, and I can't do every single one of them. So I just target with my Sacreds when I'm close to Mercy for the extra legendary, or when I have enough for a guaranteed champion and I think it's worth it, and I'm not sacrificing a fusion. Or during a 2x, if I'm just going to open a couple for a fusion. Or if I've just got a bunch here and I'm like, you know what, let's pop a couple. But I almost never think like that, because these things are so valuable. But right now I'm saving them for a 2x, 10x for the Knights Revenant Faction Unity, which when you're watching this video, the Knights Revenant Faction Unity isn't in the game, but I'm hoping that when he comes out, it lines up with a 2x, 10x for Sacreds. Ancients, about the same rule as Sacreds. I use them for guaranteed legendaries, outside of fusions obviously. Use them for guaranteed legendaries, extra legendaries if I'm close to Mercy, and then sometimes 2x events, as well as the 2x, 10x events for the faction unities. I don't go all in on those. Like, I think the last one for the, what was it, for the demon spawn guy, I opened like 50, and that's because the fusion was going on, or something like that. 50 is a rough number, but I think it was about 50. So I think that covers where me, being an endgame player, uses my shards, Remnant Summons, Champion Chase. I think I may have opened them once for CVC in the past, I'm not sure. But pretty much only Champion Chase. And then these guys, mostly Champion Chase as well, but I did use Freya and Mikage for a personal reward CVC. That's the first time I've ever used a fragment for a PR CVC. I'd say 99% of the time these guys get popped during fusions. And then the Broadmaws, that's fusions. There's no point in using these guys in PR CVC because I already have them, so I won't get the bonus points. So all Champion Chase with these guys. And we already went over all these shards. Mystery shards, usually try and line them up with a Champion Chase and a Champion Training at the same time, so I can pop a couple hundred of these and get, you know, maybe the energy or something, or like the bottom tier reward if I'm not doing the fusion. But mystery shards, you know, we all use them to level up our champions pretty much and to do our daily quests, so I don't think I need to go over those. Thank you guys for watching the video. I hope that this helped you. If there's anything you could take away from this, the number one thing is track your Mercy. I think that's the most important part of the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope you enjoyed. Leave any tips you have down below for other people in the comments so we can all benefit our accounts and so we can all talk about it and have a good time. Thank you guys for watching. Peace out.